Last week, something really special happened at our state capitol that will change the lives of families living with autism.
The legislation requires insurance companies to offer coverage for autism treatment that expands access to behavioral therapies. And today, Dr. Mohan Christian, Director of Children's Service with the Hope Network, is here to talk to us about what that all means.
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk to you about this. Good morning.
That was really wonderful. I've seen the billboards because it's such a celebration for the families who are living with this each and every moment of every day.
What we've understood about autism has changed a lot, and this has been a long progress. The kind of therapy that this insurance coverage provides actually has been developed since the 80s, and it goes back a long way, but getting it to the point where we can deliver it to families has taken a long time. For a number of years now, we've been able to tell families pretty accurately when their kids have autism or a related disorder, and we have a pretty good idea of what we should do, but in Michigan we haven't been allowed to provide the treatment. This treatment's really intensive. A child works 20 to 40 hours a week, sometimes for as much as 3 or 4 years, one-on-one with a therapist. And so as you can imagine, it's an expensive therapy, and most of us, we wouldn't be able to afford that if we had to pay out of pocket. And so a lot of families have been waiting for this. We're the 30th state to do this, and so this fall, we're really excited about what we can do for these kids. Yeah.
Wow. This is, through legislation, taken so long for this to become passed in Michigan. Why do you think that took such a long time with neuropsychological disorders?
Yeah, it's a good question, and there's still probably a lot of work to do. There are many other needs that are not being met, but this was really actually a beautiful process in the end for a couple of reasons. We were a little slow to do this, but on the other hand, we've learned a lot from other states, and we hope that some of the hiccups that they've had along the way are things that we can use to do this even better here in Michigan. But the other thing was, for the longest time, there was a lot of wrangling about the cost. And I think cost is on everybody's mind. Everybody knows the economy is not in great shape. And what we really looked at in Michigan was when you don't treat a kid with autism, you put that kid you track them into a life of needing special education services, having a very low chance of being able to live independently or work. And not only is that a quality of life issue for the child and for the family, it's also a cost for the state. And we are all already paying for that today. And so there was really a groundswell of bipartisan support for doing this, because people from both sides of the aisle said, we can actually save money as a state while doing the right thing.
Well, and tell us what Hope Network is already doing. I was able to tour your wonderful Center for Autism.
Oh, wonderful.
And as it opened its doors, I mean, you really are on the cutting edge of providing already this service to these families and to these oftentimes children.
Yeah.
Walk us through what you're doing already.
Sure. So I personally am a diagnostic guy. My job is to tell families whether their kids have autism or a related disorder, and then figure out overall what things make sense to help that child. Sometimes it's the kind of intensive therapies that the insurance covers. Sometimes it's other things, some of which we can already provide today. We have a really great team, and we have a really excellent behavior analyst who is actually doing the kind of intensive behavior therapy the legislation provides for today. But today what she does is primarily funded through scholarships and grants. We have some generous donors in the community, and a few families of means, and a few special cases where companies have decided to offer the coverage in advance. So we've actually gotten some really good experience providing this therapy, and we're learning actively from what's been done in other states. And so as the legislation comes into action this fall, we hope that we can scale up and provide a really good service to lots of kids here.
Autism is one of those diseases that is so hard to detect when you have a young child. And what are some of the signs that parents can look for and maybe find hope at the Hope Network?
That's an excellent question. Parents oftentimes, a lot of parents are concerned about this. Will my child have autism? Does my child have autism? And there's a couple of things that parents should be looking for in their toddlers. One of them is what we call joint attention. Is your child developing the skill not only to make eye contact with you and respond emotionally to you, but follow your attention? When you look at things, is your child looking at those same things with you? Another thing is language development. And not just are they saying words that you understand, but are those words being used to communicate with you? Normally, communication is a very rewarding thing for a child. You think about, we don't remember being infants ourselves, but when we were infants, when we start out, when we are hungry or we need to be changed, we can't communicate that. And these things happen whenever our parents do them for us. Communication opens up a rich world. You can get fed when you're hungry. Later you can wear the shirt you want to wear. That's the part where kids with autism struggle, using communication to tell their parents what their needs are. So when you're seeing these kinds of issues, it's very reasonable to talk to your family doctor or pediatrician. Ask them if development is normal, if they're seeing concerns. Sometimes as early as 18 months when kids come to us, it's a pretty clear picture of autism and we know what we're looking at and we can start with the intensive treatment. Other times we're not 100% sure, but we can still come up with treatments that are reasonably low risk and will help the child either way.
So right now with the expanded opportunity because of insurance coverage, you know that you'll be opening up these services to so many more children. Is there also the hope that as there's more money maybe in the pipeline, that more therapies and more services will be developed just because it will really become something that is financially available for these companies and programs like yours to do?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of related issues. One is that people have talked about is that there's been a brain drain of the kind of talent working with kids with autism in Michigan. We have 2 excellent programs in the state that produce highly skilled professionals. Most of them leave the state. And so if you look at a state like Florida, where this legislation has been in place for some years, they have thousands of these professionals. I think we have less than 200 here.
Wow.
And most of them don't work with autism, actually.
Oh.
So one thing is that you'll be seeing more of this talent stay in Michigan. You'll be seeing more of that development locally. Although autism research is a global activity, and we all work together. And I don't think any of us think that we can do this alone.
Right.
But you'll be seeing a lot of new things. The behavioral therapies continue to become more sophisticated. The goal is to help kids more quickly, to more accurately determine which kids can be helped and which kids struggle for what reason and what else we can do. I think there are all kinds of other exciting things. We're learning more about what causes autism. We're learning more about medical options that may become available to treat it.
Well, we are so excited that Michigan has jumped on board with legislation. And how can viewers get in touch with the Hope Network?
Well, I think you put our phone number up, and we'd be glad to talk to you. We're also on the web. We have some information for parents, including things like what they should be looking out for in their child's development. You also put up the Autism Alliance of Michigan's website. They are a nonprofit organization that has really spearheaded the effort to put this legislation together. They've worked very closely with the Lieutenant Governor, with supporters at DTE Energy and some other people who've been vital in this. They're the people that I would say to go to in terms of a trusted resource parents can talk to. If you want to know what's going on, if you want to know how this legislation will affect you and how to get access to services, they're the people I would go to.
Well, thank you so much. And great to hear about the exciting news for these families and definitely about the great services that we have right here in West Michigan at Hope Network. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We'll be right back.
Okay.
This is 8 West.